Want to welcome you all to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It is Tuesday, April 28th. This is a 6 o'clock meeting. And again, it's a Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:01 because I'm using the computer time right now. And is roll call loaded? Okay. So Caitlin is absent. Oh, sorry. I didn't look past the round table for the, sorry about that. I guess, Caitlin, would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So item number 3 is approval of the minutes. We had one prepared minutes in our packet, and that was March 24th. Is there a motion or any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Doug. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Regine first. Any further discussion? Also, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 4, appearances before the commission. I was told there is none. Is that still correct? Item number 5. 5.1 is a request from Windsor Enterprises, Inc., Bell Laboratories for a 6-month extension on a approved site plan for previously approved building addition at 6551 North Town Road, Village of DeForest. Randy, is that you?
That is me. So I'll just do a brief overview of the staff report that was in your packet, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Bell Labs, well, it's Windsor Enterprises doing business as Bell Labs, received a site plan approval on April 22nd of 25 for about a 21,000 square foot building addition on their manufacturing facility. And there were conditions as part of that. Village ordinance states that when you receive site plan approval, you need to obtain your building permit within 1 year of that site plan approval. Bell Labs is requesting an extension to that deadline. We did provide them with a final site plan approval letter in June of last year. So the request is to extend the approval on that for an additional 6 months to the end of 2026. They've just been kind of going through process, restructuring, the economic validity of the project, things like that, which have just kind of pushed things back a little bit further. So the request is for the Planning and Zoning Commission, because you approved the initial site plan, you would need to approve the 6-month extension. I do have Brad here from Bell Labs. If you guys have any additional questions, I'm happy to answer questions or looking for action on that item today.
Thank you, Brandy. I'll consider that the end of the presentation, and there's no public appearances, so discussion, action, or commission discussion and possible action.
I would make a motion to grant the extension for 6 months on the approval of the site plan for Bell Labs.
Thank you, Colleen.
I'll second that, Jim.
Thank you, Shannon. So motion by Colleen, seconded by Shannon. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Thank you for coming. So item 5.2 is a public hearing and an ordinance amendment for the Village of the Forest Code, Chapter 15, restricting residency of sex offenders. And I was told that Chief was going to lead this. I think, is it a Dan also?
We thought we were.
Sorry, Dan, I don't know you. Could I ask you to state your name and
And I work with Alroy, and assistant village.
thank you very much.
We fighting each other, Brandy. Okay, well, good evening. Sorry, I'm not used to appearing in front of you. So my name is Jim Olson. I'm the police chief here. I've been the chief here in my 8th year now, which scares me enough. But my 29 years of law enforcement experience prior to that was in the city of Milwaukee Police Department. And the last unit I commanded at MPD was Sensitive Crimes Division, which includes sex offender registry monitoring, which was one of the subunits that I got to deal with. So to me, this ordinance is one of those things that becomes important for communities to provide a couple different resources for their.
I'm sorry, Jim, I need you to open up the public hearing before Chief, because the presentation is underneath the public hearing item. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that, Chief. So item 5.2 is a public hearing. I guess I read it all. I just needed to say that the public meeting opened at 6:08. Sorry
Thank you.
about that.
Thank you.
So one of the last things I commanded at MPD was sensitive crimes, and inside that was a sex offender unit. And we would work with DOC to find out where sex offenders were being placed in the community, rather large city, obviously the biggest city in the state, population and size wise, but also understanding how does ordinance affect where people can live. So we did not have an ordinance until last year, at which point, working with Attorney Reuter, one was created, approved by the village board. Inside of that ordinance, and they're there for a reason, right? We create these ordinances so that, registered sex offenders there's a safety zone for families, expectation of privacy for kids playing in public spaces. We'll show you what those are. Having that wherever kids congregate, having a little bit of a safety buffer, but also creating a safe space for a field of view, right? That's the whole thing. Sex offender, if somebody's a registered sex offender, it doesn't mean they can't walk down a trail. It doesn't, unless there's, ongoing court conditions that says you can't be in certain places. It doesn't mean you can't walk down a trail. It doesn't mean you can't ride a bike down a trail or down a street. It means you can't reside somewhere, which is the key to this ordinance. And that's why it really goes into zoning. Currently, the ordinance that we have restricts places of residence, primary residence, to 1,000 feet from schools, parks, playgrounds, daycares, like dance studios, conservancy areas, basically places where kids could congregate. Okay. But again, it doesn't mean people can't walk through the community, can't be an active part of their community. They just can't make that their primary residence. I know this, you are all deal with this constantly, but I always remind people 1,000 feet is like 2 blocks, if you think of it that way. Okay. There are some communities that have 500 feet. Some people use 1,000 feet. Some people use more little points. And I realize this map is really hard to see, and I apologize for that. Our GIS wizard is away at a training and he's not back till tomorrow. So I couldn't kind of remodify this. This map is the north part of the village, and all the orange circles are 1,000 feet from all those previously identified areas. Now, if you look at this is a lot of housing that's excluded. Okay. And while I understand everyone's concern to say, I don't want a sex offender in my neighborhood, I don't want a sex offender here, there could be litigation, and I can let Dan speak to that too, if too much is excluded. So we're currently looking at, and Dan and I've talked a few times this week, which is a few times more than normal, about just what's the right threshold. Okay. Is it 1,000 feet? Is it something else? So that's the north side of the village. That's the south side of the village. If you look, the north or the south industrial, I mean, that's wide open. No parks, no playgrounds, no areas where kids congregate, right? But a lot of the housing is in that restricted zone at 1,000 feet. As we start to look at, is 1,000 feet the right thing? Is 750 the right thing? Is 500 the right thing? Unfortunately, the map that we have doesn't hit everything. So I just chose one, and that's the Conservancy Commons Park. And if you can see, the yellow circle indicates 500 feet, whereas the pinkish red, depending how good your colors are, over that would be the 750. And you can just see the amount of housing that's then now either opened up or excluded depending on that. And I didn't put in the 1,000 feet on top of that because that would basically knock out everything on that picture. Okay, and that's just one park. And obviously we'd have to do it for the whole village just so you can see the difference. We come to you just saying, hey, this ordinance should be a zoning code. Right now it's in the enforcement side, so it's in a different part. It's an approved ordinance by the board, but it really should be part of a zoning code. And we're looking still reevaluating what's the right number of feet. Right now, if somebody was trying to move into a restricted zone by the 1,000 foot, their first recourse is to go to public safety, which we do have one person making that case here soon. But it goes to public safety first and then to the village board for an appeal. So I probably talked too much, but I'll let Dan add anything else you think of.
Board, I think, to make it part of the zoning code, often sort of the way people challenge these types of restrictions that involve the use of property is, hey, you didn't go through a public hearing, you didn't go through proper zoning procedures, even though arguably maybe it's less of a zoning, more of a general police power, health and safety type things. But it's important because it involves property use that we consider that as part of a zoning regulation as well, because it restricts to some extent how property is otherwise used. So it's good in that context. Where these ordinances or rules have been challenged in the past, and it gets down to sort of the feet of, what's our depth or how much of the village would be available for people, because people need to have a place to live. One municipality in Wisconsin, I forget where, they were sued by their ordinance, went to federal court, and they found it to be unconstitutional. It was, I thought Hoffman maybe, but they were excluding basically 90% of their municipality for housing, and the judge just felt that that was an unreasonable amount. So when we look at, there's no magic number, but really the criterion is what's sort of a reasonable amount that has housing available, but also has the public interest of protecting kids, in parks, schools, and the like. So we think looking at this, and we'll have better data, I think once Greg's back and we look at GIS probably more in the realm of 750 to 500 is more apt. That's a block and a half. And that would open up from what the current regulation is of 1,000 under Chapter 11. That ordinance would be modified to match whatever we're doing to be consistent. So when, if this is approved, if the board wants to approve this ordinance, that would have to match, and we'd revise it accordingly so that those would match. But it's important, I think, in context of this, you also don't want to cluster. If there's certain areas where you could have registered sex offenders reside, you can't just have that in one small area of the village either. So, that's not fair to those other residents too, potentially. So, so that's in context of that. But the overall purpose of the ordinance, public safety, certainly a valid and important component of why we would have this type of regulation in our code. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions on the draft. We have the draft ordinance in the package. We sort of already have what's under Chapter 11 in there. We have a draft what would be under the zoning code, Chapter 15. I know there's 1,000 feet there in that draft, but that's more of a placeholder, and I wanted to address why that would, because it matches what we currently have in Chapter 11. But that's potentially what we're looking to modify too as part of this.
Yeah. So right now we're in a public hearing. So I guess what I wanted to do is if there is any public appearances, which I believe there is not, if we could close the public hearing at 6:16 and move on to item 5.3, which is discussion and possible recommendations on ordinance amending the village zoning code restricting residency of sex offender. And Doug, I think you had the first question, and then Jean.
Have an estimate of if we did 1,000 feet, what percentage of the village would be excluded?
No, we were just talking about that. We have to really dig in to see how we can calculate that number. Greg Hall is our GIS wizard and he's at a training until tomorrow, so we couldn't, that's why the map, I couldn't get it even updated to show like a north view because some of the views I have don't include parks and schools.
Most likely, it's fairly high as a percentage, but we just don't have exact numbers for you.
Okay, thank you.
Jean?
So I actually have two questions. What are you recommending, Chief Olson?
At this point, I'm looking to get this codified into the zoning code. And then I still need to see a little bit more. I'm gonna lean probably towards the 750, to be honest, when it goes to the board for final ordinance approval. I would go with the 750. That's a block and a half, you know, flat earth, you can see quite a bit. You know, there are other legal provisions to, you know, keep, you know, you get binoculars or things like that, right? Just as an example, right? But ultimately, what I'm very cognizant of is not making this discriminatory because we're not going to discriminate against anybody because you've done your time. You've got to be a good member of society. We're just trying to protect the youth from recidivism and things of that nature.
Okay, and then my second question is when I was reading through there, it said that the distances were done linear. So basically, is that basically then how the crow flies? So it would be 750, not like a block and a half, like go around the corner and make another turn. And so it is the distance linear from the schools, the daycares?
It would be like the circles you see 750 feet out and around from the edge of the property is the way I interpret it, but I'll leave that to the legal.
That's how the ordinance is drafted now under chapter 11. It's measured from the 1,000 feet currently is measured from the property line.
Okay.
Lisa?
Dan, thank you for that information on the case study that you did where it was deemed unconstitutional. I did have a question whether there was a study done of any other local communities or Dane County, what they had in place, just so we have some sort of precedence or guideline that we could go by that could be defensible.
Yeah, and I know the chief has looked at that and
Yeah, so I got a little bit of feedback for you. I didn't get feedback from everybody yet, but Wanakee has no guideline whatsoever. Sun Prairie has 500 feet, but they also include their trail system. So if you look at a map of Sun Prairie, like the entire city is blocked out. I mean, it's
which raises a
problematic.
Enforceable or not.
Right. And I ran into the case that Attorney Evans referenced from Mount Pleasant when I was at MPD, and it was a lawsuit issue against the city, right? Because there just wasn't enough space available. And then Cottage Grove also uses 500 feet, and they have a published map, but I do not believe they use trails, so they have some space available.
Got it.
Those are the three that I got feedback from quickly this morning.
Okay,
Still waiting for like the Mononas and Veronas and things.
okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? I guess the one idea I have is I personally could see some different regulations, like say maybe a park 500 feet and the school 1,000 feet. I personally feel like it's probably more important to be protected of the schools because that's where, say, children are more regularly. And the question I have a little bit too, this is part of the reason why I lean towards maybe 500 or a lesser standard for parks, is I don't know exactly what, say, defines a park. I mean, is it going to be the active playground or is it the property lines? Because if we start looking at, say, Western Green as a park, and we look at the Conservancy, we're blacking out huge chunk of the forest. Not necessarily bad or good, but I like that you bring up like the trail system, because if we can go to that, we do have quite a bit of trails.
Yeah, and just to address the one part, because I did think of the Western Green situation, our ordinance does have conservancy areas, so that would obviously take most of Western Green Park. Because there's a conservancy area in the middle. The one thing I would be constant, and I really, Trustee Simpson, appreciate your your perspective, is just the enforceability, because what happens is people call my officers at night and making it too complex makes it hard for them to interpret. And I don't want to put them in a position where they're offering an opinion that's wrong, and then we get into but you said, kind of an issue. So I do try to like the simplicity can be best.
I do like the idea of creating a map once we get this figured out. So,
Once we get the right distance to get to the board for approval, we'll create maps and make those publicly available.
thank you. Commissioners, anything? So there is possible recommendation. I guess, are you looking for a recommendation or just discussion tonight?
I think discussion and then to approve this into the zoning code as written at the 1,000 feet. Obviously, the board will have to oversee any change to the ordinance and distance, but your input is obviously key to that.
So what we would be looking for, if you so choose to, recommend village board approval, what you would have to do is make a motion for village board to recommend village board approval of, this ordinance. You can just read the title off of the ordinance itself.
Okay.
Do you need a condition or anything about, coming up with the distance at all?
We could say with the distance recommendation, the board consider the distance or, as appropriate,
Just a recommendation of considering changing the distance.
the distance for restricted residencies from schools and parks.
What he said.
Yeah, so I guess the staff recommendation is to leave the distance sort of open or what the attorney said. So if we chose to do that, we can just straight up leave it that way. I guess if any commissioners have opinions, you could voice that tonight. Or maybe lift it up to chief and you can voice your opinions to the board. It's up to you. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance creating section 15.0426 of the zoning code restricting residency of sex offenders with further consideration provided for footage and percentage of occupied. Is that the right word? Housing density. Did I say that right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. So the motion on
Second.
seconded by Mike. Any further discussions or anybody want to recommend their opinions? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Great.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
So item 5.4 is a public hearing to consider a request for a Meixner JT Revocable Trust to rezone 0.33 acres currently addressed at 612 Park Avenue, also known as Lot 12 Tower Hill Meadows, from RN1 residential neighborhood, single family residential district, to the RM3 residential mix 2-family housing district in the village of DeForest. And I'm opening up this public hearing at 6:25. And I believe the presentation is Brandy.
Yes, thank you very much. For paperless society, I do not do a very good job. Sorry. All right, staff reports, maps, things like that were in your packet regarding a request to rezone residential lot that's currently located at 612 Park Avenue. The property owner is under the Meixner JT Revocable Trust. It would be Art and Janet Meixner. Are requesting the rezoning of their residential parcel to allow for the construction of a 2-family duplex on the property itself. The current zoning is RN1, which does not permit any residential use other than single-family detached residence. The proposed rezoning to RM3 district would permit the two-family residential unit, either in traditional form, a duplex, or a zero lot line duplex, which the zero lot line duplex, just as a reminder, is typically a duplex that has a certified survey map that split the duplex lot into two, kind of going down the middle of the duplex so that each side could be owner occupied on there. And they still have the same common wall that's there. The staff had worked with the applicants to kind of narrow down what the best residential rezoning would be, and we settled on the RM3 district because we felt like this was the best zoning for the site based on the permitted uses of the table that is in the zoning code. I did provide a snippet of that table in your staff report so you could kind of compare the two districts to each other, so you could see what was permitted. The surrounding zoning and housing is a mix of low to moderate density residential use. A duplex structure would have minimal, if any, impact on the use and the overall character of the neighborhood. One of the things that I would like to just pull up is the actual zoning map. This I did provide in the staff report, kind of a small little snippet of the zoning like we typically do, but I just wanted you to get more of an overall picture of the zoning that is within the entire neighborhood. So what you see here is the zoning map. If you, just to kind of give you an idea, this is the Holcomb Education Center location here. The part or Eagle Point, sorry, you're right. One of the schools, Eagle Point Elementary. This is the parcel right here that's requesting the rezone right now. The housing that is surrounding it here, single family homes zoned RN1. There is a RM6 zoning that takes over here to the west for the majority. That allows a little more density and it's specific to the zoning is kind of specific to this neighborhood in particular. As you look around throughout the zoning, there are some RM3 zoned properties kind of speckled throughout the area already. And so this is the site in particular. There is a 2-flat house that is located next to this property as well. 2 flats are permitted in the existing zoning as well. But the 2-flat is specific to one unit on top of another rather than next door to each other. So that is the request behind the rezoning. I'm available to answer questions. I do have some public requests to read into the record that I received for this particular request as well, that I will do once Jim's ready for me to do that.
Yep, I'd say thank you for the presentation. And we are on to the public appearances. And I'm assuming we've got no public appearances minus the 3 you were going to read into the record.
That's correct. I don't have any registered public appearances outside of these.
Okay. And I think even though you're reading it, we're supposed to stick to the 3 minutes. Is that correct?
I actually have 30 seconds
3 seconds. Okay,
for the reading in, so I'm going to go quick. Okay,
do your best.
so are you ready for me to move to that portion? Okay. Oh, wait, don't start. Sorry, that was the wrong piece of paper.
3 seconds.
Wasting time. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with the short one first, okay? So I have Jonathan Wild at 612 Russell Street that sent an email to me and would like to record the possible or the statement into record. If it's a simple request, or if the public approves the rezoning to a mixed 2-family housing district, my answer would be no, exclamation point. I believe the lot in the district should remain RN1 residential neighborhood, single family residence housing district. Thanks. You do a good job. All right, next I have Matthew and Janelle Johnson, 604 Park Avenue. Hello, my name is Matthew Johnson. We live 2 lots west of the proposed rezoning of 612 Park Avenue. My wife Janelle and I would like to submit our input as we would like to oppose the rezoning change. Our top concerns would be effects on our property's value, future property taxes, potential high turnover for tenants at a multi-dwelling location. I've been here almost 19 years, enjoy the neighborhood. It's reassuring to know who most of our neighbors are as we help each other out and keep a lookout for everyone. We also appreciate the quiet and safety we all share. For the ones that I didn't finish, just so you know, they will be uploaded into the packet after the meeting, so you are able to go in and view the full statements, okay? All right, next, Shay Jones, 608 Park Avenue. Dear members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'm writing to express my opposition to the proposed rezoning of the lot located at 612 Park Avenue. Our neighborhood is a quiet, established, single-family community. One of its defining characteristics is low density, which contributes to a safe and peaceful environment for residents. This is especially important given our close proximity to an elementary school, where children and families are frequently walking, biking, and playing. Rezoning this lot to allow for a multifamily development would significantly alter the character. So those are the 3 statements that I did receive as part of the public hearing. Like I said, those will be uploaded to the packet after the meeting so the public has access to them and you guys can access it as well. If you would like me to send them to you, just let me know.
I thank you, Brandy, and you definitely read those as fast as you can, so that was impressive. I
Water.
like to say, Rachel, it looked like you had too much fun timing her.
Telling me to stop talking, right?
But the other comment I do want to make for everybody listening and anybody in the audience, another option could have been is to have somebody that say is a adjacent neighbor or something come in and they would have had 3 minutes to read that. So again,
That is
thank you
correct.
for your speed reading, Brandy, but know that there is other options, even if you can't attend.
Thank you, Jim.
With that, that is actually the closing of the public hearing. So I'm going to call the public hearing closed at 6:33. I think we are on item 5.5, which is discussion and possible recommendation on a request for Mexter JT revocable trust to rezone 0.33 acres, currently addressed at 612 Park Avenue, known as Lot 12, Tower Hill Meadows, from RN1 residential neighborhood, single family residential district, to RM3 residential mix, 2-family housing district. And I open that up for discussion. Is there anybody wanting to start the discussion? Looks like Lisa.
I have a question on that. That when I read the packet, and my apologies because I sped read through this section, 330 pages. What is that 0.33 the total acreage that they're trying to put multifamily? So that's quite small.
So it's a 0.33 acres and what they're looking at is a duplex unit. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. And when the team was reviewing this, was there any concern given the citizen feedback on the changing the characteristic of the neighborhood and providing any kind of nuisance to neighbors where they, you know, they purchased their home and had every reason to believe that the character of that neighborhood would stay and remain a single family neighborhood? Was there any, I'm just curious if the team talked about that at all and any concern for the change of the character of the.
Yeah, that's definitely a great question. It's something that we always consider when we do get the rezoning requests, right? We do look at the character of the neighborhood. We look at our zoning ordinances, you know, to make sure that things meet in that standard. We also review it with our comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
And our future land use map, which in this particular case, the comprehensive plan allows for a moderate density zoning in this area, which would be a small scale, like not a large, you know, 300 unit
Right.
building, but a smaller scale, you know, um, 4 units, 3 units, things like that.
Okay.
The statements that I received, they all came late yesterday or today. So there wasn't any analysis done based on those statements specifically. But like I said, we do review through all of our comprehensive plan, zoning and all of that to make sure it's gonna fit. And there are, within that area, like I had pointed out, there are other lots that are zoned the same, the RM3. So those homes, even if they're single family homes, they could tear those down and put duplex units on them, as a permitted right for land use in that area. The RM6 district does allow for a little expansive, which is all the way to the west as well. So those things are considered when we do our, thorough review based on the character of the neighborhood. It was also considered that there's a two flat or, right next door, that, it's the same concept, just one on top of the other instead of sideways. But all of those things were considered.
If I could just add one thing, Lisa, real quick. This has been kicking around for a little while. I don't know if it was this applicant or a previous applicant. Initially wanted to have higher density, multiple family zoning that would have allowed 3 or 4 units. For lack of a better term, we talked them down
Mhm.
because the character of the neighborhood is single family and 2 family. There's both in existence in the area. So we felt that duplex housing was both consistent with the plan and consistent with the character of the neighborhood.
Mhm. Thank you, Mike.
And those other properties that are in that neighborhood that are RM3, what's this acreage size of those? Are we talking another 0.33 or is such a small space for a duplex type scenario like this?
Yeah, they are smaller lots. I'll pull it up here really quick. But so these are the RM3 lots. So if you look at this one that's right here on the corner, it is pretty darn close to the same size as the parcel that we're talking about potentially recommending rezoning for. And then these parcels over here are also the RM3 zoning, and they're actually a little bit narrower, in stature for those lots over there.
And are those other properties on the RM3, are they vertical flats or are they duplexes?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that.
Yeah, those other properties with the similar size acreage, are those vertical flats stacked on top of each other, or are they the duplexes?
I believe that they're single family actually, Lisa, currently. Here we have duplex. Here we have a duplex. Here we have it. So I was wrong. These 3 are duplex. They are duplex units.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else, questions, concerns? Yes, I want to state my comment. As somebody that used to lay out developments, I don't personally think 0.33 acres is small. I think that's a decent size for a lot, so. And the other comment I wanted to make again, when I did this, whatever, 12 or 15 years ago, another concept we had at the village at that time is we tried to get these corner lots into duplexes because you could potentially face a duplex both ways, so it still had a look of a single family. So I think that is a benefit of this lot that will even say less distract from from a change. I mean, I don't think we can necessarily require that, but I suspect a builder might desire that.
Yeah, I mean, we can't require that they would split it out that way, but the reality too is, we do have bulk standards in our zoning ordinance per district that detect, distinguish lot size, setbacks, things of all of that sort. So whatever is planned for that lot has to comply with those bulk standards that are in place.
Yep, thank you. Any other comments, concerns? Again, we're looking for a possible recommendation. And did we have a resolution or what? An ordinance? Anybody? Okay, I guess I will make a recommendation to approve the ordinance 2026 number to be known, and I believe I'm looking. Is this a recommendation? Yep, recommendation.
Yes.
to the Board
Mhm.
for approval.
I'll second.
Thank you. So motion by myself and seconded by Jean. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? No. Thank you. Motion passes 6-1. With Mike being the negative vote. And I think we are on 5.6. A request for certified survey map reconfiguration. Lot lines between a parcel denoted on the agenda, actually two parcels denoted on the agenda, which is 4875 and 4885 Cuba Valley Road within the DeForest Extraterritorial Zoning District. Randy, is that you again?
Yes, it is. All right. Okay, thank you. All right, so we do have a request from a property owner, Carleen Hunter, and then Jacqueline Humry. There are two properties that are a part of the certified survey map that is coming before the Planning and Zoning Commission tonight. Currently, we're looking at this parcel here, which is located out on Cuba Valley Road. And this parcel here, if you guys can see on the map, actually, Shannon can't see anything. There we go. Are we good, Shannon? Okay, sorry about that. So currently the smaller parcel here is owned by Carleen Hunter. And then this parcel here is owned by Jacqueline Humry Properties. And what they're looking to do is basically square off this parcel here. So that way there's a little bit more land associated with the Hunter property. And then as part of this, but is not something that the Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending or taking action on, this is going to be going before the ETZ Commission, is they're looking at, we're also looking at a rezoning that's going to go in conjunction with the certified survey map. Because currently the larger parcel is zoned RH1, which is a rural housing zoning. And we can't have dual zoning on one parcel. So if we do this CSM to combine into one parcel, then we are going to need to rezone the portion of the RH1 zoning to match the zoning that's currently here on the single family residential property. Basically, the Planning and Zoning Commission, we're looking for review approval on the CSM. Once we have the CSM approved, it does actually have to go through the town and Dane County for approval as well. And then we'll be taking on May 11th, the rezoning of those lands, that portion, to the ETZ committee to then make a recommendation to the DeForest Village Board to approve that rezoning. The ETZ areas are a little wonky and confusing, and we have to go to a couple of different entities to get these approvals. So I'm going to leave it there. If you guys have any questions regarding the CSM itself, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you, Brandy, for the presentation. So there's no public appearances, go commission discussion and possible action. In front of us is the resolution that Brandy discussed.
I don't know, do you guys want to look at the map? I know it was in your packet, but I can certainly bring up the CSM for you to review.
You, Colleen?
I would make a motion to approve a certified survey map reconfiguring the lot lines at 4875 and 4885 Cuba Valley Road within the extraterritorial land division review jurisdiction.
Thank you, Colleen. I'm assuming that is as written. Thank you. Mike, I think I saw your mic unmuted for a second there.
Sure, I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion? I hesitate, but I want to bring up one question. Is there any, to me, this seems so straightforward. If it was in the village, it wouldn't be coming here. Is there any way that we can change that in ETZ so we don't at least help the next time?
Yes, the ordinance would just have to be amended that way.
I'd suggest that if it isn't too much work, but we'll figure that out later. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So item 5.7 is discussion of possible action on a site plan submittal for a hotel at 4160 Savannah Drive within the Forest Yard Savannah Brook subdivision, planned unit development, PUD. Presentation, I was told, is being led by Mark.
Thank you. This was before you in concept last month. And before that, a broader concept was brought before you for a recreational complex as part of the next phase of DeForest Yards. This is in the northwest corner of that larger site that would contain a indoor rec center. The hotel is a 89-room, 4-story town place suites. What's unique about this site and its design is that it includes a parking lot. That's not unique, but the parking lot is predominantly behind a gate, so that the occupants of that parking lot are limited to the employees and the tenants or the renters, or I'm sorry, occupants of the hotel. And that the rec center folks that are not using the hotel use their own parking. This is in the Savannah Brooks Plan Unit Development. This site is zoned for hotels. The site plan submittal was complete, well prepared. There are a few questions regarding access to the parking lot, especially for protective services personnel over time. Those will be resolved. Stormwater management is predominantly handled off-site as part of regional basins within Savannah Brooks, but there is a small area at the north edge. For stormwater management, the site is generously landscaped in proposal, about 50% more landscaping than required by code. There is an emergency services and security plan that has been provided as part of this, not only regarding the gated access, but to help the police and fire deal with the owner and manager if there is an emergency or necessary situation on the property. The one area that I will point out and requires a bit of judgment on the commission's part is with respect to the materials proposed for use on the building. The building does great in terms of its kind of variation and setbacks. It's not a box. There's ins and outs to the exterior of the building. We have a minimum decorative material requirement in the ordinance of 35%. There's a collection of automatic decorative materials. Windows are automatic, brick is automatic, stone is automatic. And then there's, as may otherwise be approved by the commission. About 19% of this building is windows. And about another 19%, the applicant is requesting that a concrete material, Nichiha panels be counted as a decorative material. And I'm sure the applicant can tell a little bit more. I think they're working to balance Marriott's requirements against the village's requirements. But I am throwing that issue on the decorative material to the plan commission to decide in this case. With that, I'll be available to answer questions and provide more details on the recommendation as we go forward tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for that presentation. Any appearances? I'm assuming none. And we can move on to commission discussion and possible action. And I'm assuming, or I see the applicants in the audience, so if we do have questions from them, I think they will likely be available. So anybody wishing to open the discussion? Mike?
I think my question would be on the decorative material. Mark, do you know, is it intended to be concrete finished material or is it coated?
I'm going to ask the developer to answer that question.
If you could, please, as normal, please state your name and address. Or
Luke Stoffaker, Cascade Development, 40, well, no, I'm in transit. 4058 at Hanover, the new place, that's in June. 4165 Savannah Drive, DeForest.
Very good.
Yeah. You wanna go, Claudia?
Yeah, Claudia Harkins. Claudia Harkins, Cascade Development, and I'm at 2746 Nadine Road, Cottage Grove.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a little bit of color on this. My options are limited. Marriott tells you what to do, and you don't really get to ask a whole lot of questions. They in this particular hotel, they've got these designs that obviously they spent a ton of R&D on figuring out. They had two design options. There was a design option with more EIFS, the exterior finish insulated system that I'm sure you guys are familiar with, and then they had an upgraded option with the Nichiha components and some other ones. And Mark, guests, we call them guests. They're hotel guests. Not tenants or leases. You're stumbling on that. And so with your requirements, we brought forward the elevated version of the Marriott Town Place Suites. We didn't do a great job. We should have got you the real renderings. The building's very nice. There's some of the live ones with the full color on there. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot better. So what the Nichiha is an extremely expensive fiber cement product. You guys have liked all the apartment stuff I brought forward, the ring stuff. I would never use it on any of those projects because it's too expensive. And SmartSide James Hardie is I would say the more market-friendly product that you typically see at all my multifamily buildings. The Nichiha was spec'd by Marriott, and because the architects just kind of spec the super nice stuff. So one of the questions that Mark asked was the cost price between masonry and other products that would check the box in the code. So to me, it's a little bit of a loophole. It's absolutely a high-end product, an upgrade over pretty much anything else, similar to masonry. It's a fiber cement, wood grain, wood looking product. So what they're doing on this with the Town Place Suites, it's extended stay, so they want to get more of a residential feel, which again is part of why I think it's a really good product for what we're doing in DeForest Yards. And so that the brown wood toned look, it gives it more of the residential versus the EIFS look. In the downgraded product, the cheaper version, they try to achieve this through grid lines in the EIFS. And then of course, like the better looking one that they would prefer you to build, it has the Nichi Ha in it. I could I could talk about it for a while a bit, but it's a because a fiber cement product is supposed to give you that wood grain look, and you don't hear about it much or see it much because of the cost price. They were like the first manufacturer, one of the leading manufacturers of the fiber cement. So it's very common for an architect to spec it, and then the developer or the builder will do a value engineer to downgrade it to a different product. But in this case, we're not attempting to do that.
I'll just add that for the Youngblood development, I think they had a similar same manufacturer, their Nichi Ha wood grain metal panels, so that the commission had approved for that one.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Luke. I think Gene, you have a comment?
So is there a defined texture into the, I mean, is it a textured material? Or it would have some definition?
It's fairly flat, and I think it's got some waves in it, like a kind of like a wood grain. We can get a sample here or whatnot, but it sets off the building, so it gives you a little bit of depth, and it's a two-tone product. I think that's where the architects really like it, because it gives versus like a flat color that you don't get that full kind of textured piece. Their website's really good too. It's on like they win a bunch of awards with all their stuff, and you always see the pictures like that's really nice, and then you look at it, you're like, yeah, I can't afford that. So Marriott didn't go overboard. They put it in certain. It's more of an accent material in this case, is what they're trying to achieve.
Thank you, Gene. Mike?
Just to follow up, I perceive that I know what material you're talking about. I think I've seen that on other hotels. Is there any long-term maintenance required for that product?
No, it's got a 30-year warranty and very long warranty piece, similar to the Hardy board and the Smart Side.
Okay.
Actually, I think probably longer, but we can.
It's good with UV and all of the nasty elements that we have up here.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Like I said, it's like the premium of the products that we put on. Like you just cost wise, you don't usually put it, but it's the top of the line. When you hear the word, you're kind of like, oh, really? They expect that? What are we going to do to get the same look? So yeah, it's rated for all the weather and everything.
Thank you, Luke.
Anybody else? Lisa?
Last month when we were talking about this project, Jim, you actually mentioned some concern with bike path and some east-west access. I'm just curious if that had ever been addressed or resolved. I don't know if that's a question for Luke or for Mark or.
I can address that. You're going to see a graphic coming up on page 165. There you go. Yeah, I understood that this came up with respect to both this project and with the enclave. And this map shows the existing bike ped system in the area and a couple of additions. So the hotel, just to ground you a little bit, Brandy, could you put the thing on the hotel? There it is right there. The purple lines you see are locations of 10-foot wide off-street bicycle path that exist today. In conjunction with the enclave development, there will be another path to its north that's in blue. That'll provide a nice loop there through the environmental corridor. And then what you see in green are sidewalks. And then, of course, if you're comfortable and confident, you are encouraged and welcome to ride your bike on the street. And there are, several streets that would be suitable for on-road cycling. So there is a direct bike ped connection between the hotel and rest of DeForest Yards and the enclave. It's not 100%, paved 10-foot wide path, but rather a combination of different facilities to make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'd say the couple comments I have, sorry. Oh, Caitlin, sorry.
Do you have a sense of who the guests would be for this hotel? Like what would draw them to the area to stay overnight?
So it's kind of two-part. Our main core guests will be corporate extended stay. So UW Hospital, the American Center Business Park, Quick Distribution, all your employee companies. Bill and Alex have been on me for a hotel for ever since they met me, and every answer was, "You don't have a hotel site available for me. It's not there." And I think the combination of this Marriott flag being available as extended stay, where you can get out to a location isn't necessarily First and Main with all the DeForest Yards user groups. So we expect it to be about a 70% corporate extended stay hotel, and then 30% with the sports user groups in the area, through obviously the hockey and the entertainment district and the soccer, and eventually phase 2 of soccer. We think our biggest challenge will be we'll have a very strong corporate market, which is extended stay product, and then having the availability of the weekends for those sports user groups.
Thanks.
Anything else, Caitlin? I guess I want to bring up a couple things of my own. If you could, or I said there is some of the comments that you brought up even tonight, Lisa, as far as the bike path. I know we talked about, and we did vacate a bike path easement to the east, but there still currently is an easement to the west, which is directly north of this hotel or motel. And what I would ask, looking at the site plan, it looks like it would be pretty quick to connect that with the sidewalk. Because you have the sidewalk, I'll say, on the east side of your parking lot. I guess I'm maybe looking at Mark along those lines, or could we put that in as a future thing if a bike path ever went, or maybe we'd ask for the sidewalk to extend to the property line or that bike path easement. Any comments on that? Yes.
So, question. So this, you have to reorient yourself a little bit. North is right on this particular map. So trying to make this, okay. So I'm not sure which of these lines is the easement and which is a setback. I believe the easement for the bike path is a little closer, and this is the 50-foot.
That furthest one is the 50-foot highway. So
yeah, this is the 50-foot highway setback. It would be possible to build a path, bicycle path or a sidewalk from the intersection of Williamsburg Way and 19 to this location along the north side of the rec center, and connecting into somehow the site plan for the hotel.
Jim, I wouldn't have a problem if that was a future consider, I don't know what you would call it, but when you guys built that, I would have no problem connecting with it. I think where you would connect is that existing sidewalk to the east, but plan view south.
Yeah, that was my thought.
Or maybe even the other, whichever one. I think you probably go into that one, Mark. I would think.
When you're thinking,
yeah, because that's where you would actually be able to get direct connection.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. I just want to make sure.
If you guys want to put that as a future condition, I mean, when that project got started, I would have no problem making sure we address that on our side.
Yeah, you could make it a condition of this approval, or Luke's going to be back in a couple months, right, with the rec center development.
Do you guys have a timeline? Are you actively trying to build that path?
Not that I know of, so that's why I hesitate to build.
Yeah, but yes, a couple months from there, probably doesn't do any good.
I mean, it might make sense to wait for that site plan to come forward. We'll communicate
different connections
to you guys and to Sarah to say, hey, as you guys develop that site plan, could you figure out you know, how to connect.
Yeah, we're pro connectivity with all of this, so we're gonna be friendly in all of that. So,
Yep, thank you. And then I got two more, and one of them has to do with the circulation that I know was brought up. And just looking at the widths that you have, say, between the parking stalls, a lot of it is 24 feet. So in my opinion, that's two-way traffic. But then as you go on, say, Plan North, was that west, that it narrows down to 18 feet, which I think is pretty tight for two-way traffic. So I'm just wondering, are you conceptualizing that one-way traffic?
yes, so that's with the plan view, you can flip it too if you want, Mark, with that little arrow.
It's easier to make it bigger if I keep it this way, so I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah, so with the diagonal parking, that is meant to be one-way traffic. And then it's kind of an in and out situation. So with the gate setup and how that flow is, you can't go back out the other way.
Okay, that's good. I just suspect that you would want to have, say, one way or wrong way. You got to.
Yeah, we talked about signage, even with Marriott, as their question was again how the gate work, and you see these all the time in urban areas or valet situations and airport setups. So those 3, 4, 5 of those initial stalls would be guest check-in with signage, and those are reserved for that. And then so that way you want the guests in the main parking lot, not bottling up the registration stuff. So once they check in there, they get their key. The key gives them access. And I just touch on the gate because it came up just to get in front of it. It wouldn't be feasible to do a hotel in this parking lot without restricted parking. And the issue would be you've got a full hotel, 89 guests, say a long-term, someone has been there, and then we have a big event in the entertainment district, and that whole parking lot gets filled with the easy spots, and it would be not good. So that was one of our initial kind of, we've got to solve this problem. We can't do anything unless we have controlled access to parking. And that's why I came up with the gate as the solution.
One of the village engineer's comments in his memo was that there should be a directional signage and striping plan to help people know. And one of the ideas would be basically do not enter signs, located here so you don't go the wrong way, or
That was my thought too.
extremely warned not to.
Okay. So
You end up in an Austin Powers situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think two-way traffic throughout the rest of it makes sense. Who hasn't been in a hotel and I got this crappy parking space, but I saw one over here that's right by my door. And so they had the ability to go back and forth, I think really does matter for the rest of the lot.
Okay, and my last comment has to go, if you could bring up the renderings. And I'm personally okay with the fiber cement, say they get to the 35%. But the comment that I have, or the question, if you could go to those. So I like the look of, say, the top rendering. My concern for the lower rendering, or what would be the east side, is I think there's 3 different colors of ephes. Is that the lighter colors?
There's 2 Nietzsche hot panel colors. We haven't talked about that. But I think there's a sandstone one.
Yeah, I believe the lighter gray is a fiber cement product, not Nepus on the east rendering.
My concern with the east rendering is there's what's depicted as green and blue here. And on the actual rendering, they look very similar in color. So I'm just wondering if it's going to look like one color or if we can distinguish them a bit more.
I think you see it better. The color on the top one are the same colors. So for whatever reason, I think the brown pulls it out. So on that rendering, you see that differentiation. I think it gets lost I think the colors are tough on these renderings, because it just the PDFs don't show them as good. But I'm fairly supportive of Marriott and all the stuff they're doing, that you're gonna have a differentiation of it. And Mark, yeah, I don't know if you can pull the two different ones on those chips too, would help.
What do you want me to do, Luke?
If you keep going down, I think they have like the two different colors of the gray.
Yeah, these are, I brought out the fiber cement
Yeah, okay.
panels.
Yeah, so that one's a fiber cement, so different material, darker color. And then the EPIS is a different material, lighter color. So I think you're definitely, what you don't see on the rendering is the texture of the materials that in practicality, you see a texture, you see some difference there. We'll also have on the signage side of things, we'll also have a sign. We worked through Mark with his requirements to meet those, and there'll be signage on that east side too, which helps.
Well, I guess what I'll say is that I do like the aesthetics of the multiple buildings you built out there and the different lots. So I'm putting a lot of, say, hope in you that you know what's going on here better than I do from this rendering. Because to me, those look very similar in color, and I just sort of don't want a monotone feel. I'm hoping that you can change some shades if need be to still make what Marriott wants. So.
Yeah, and I was I could probably again if we not that I want to I don't want to slow things down because we're moving, but get some live photos and stuff of actual product built. It's a nice looking property. We've done a lot of hotels through Cascade or subsidiaries, and it'll be probably one of the nicest looking one from a design standpoint that we've done. So I'm super comfortable with the product the generational concept that they're doing right now. I don't think that rendering does a really good job of showing you guys that, because I've seen the actual ones, which doesn't do you guys any good. But so
Jim, I think what you're saying is for the second, third, and fourth floor, you don't want the building color to be the same from the north end to the south end.
Yes.
So that's, I think the ask is that it not be exactly the same color as you trace the arrow from north to south end of the building.
What is it? You just can't see it. There's a gray that.
Yeah, and so I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah,
as my point.
Yeah.
Right, and the only additional thing I'll say to that, I agree with you, Mark, but also knowing that we were trying to go for sort of a feel of like the Nordic, and I think a lot of your other proposals were a bit darker in color, so.
My issue there, Jim, is I don't have a choice.
That's what I was.
Like they say, this is what you get to build. And there was just, not to like just plead the fifth. I just like, hey, this is a hotel. Do you want to build it? And it's like, yeah.
That's where I think I'm putting my trust in you, that you pushed the envelope as much as you could.
I'm really confident in the look of the hotel and how it will fit into the development. So I will say that I'm actually really excited about how it will fit and work in that. Yeah. And I can explore their thoughts on adding some Nichiha and spots on the other side, if that's a possibility. One of the things I did as part of kind of, not the timeline, I wanted to do it anyways, is they spend a ton of time and money on like I said, on the R&D side of this. And they opened up some programs where if a developer wants to go in and say, hey, we trust what you guys have spent all your time in, and say, like, if you like, they usually get people coming in and they try to downgrade, and they go through the waiver process to spend less money. And so they gave me a better roadmap if I basically agreed to all of their stuff on the higher end side of things. So I elected to get into that program because I believe in what they were doing on the R&D side, but
okay.
I'm confident that it's will look and fit well.
Thank you, Luke, and thank you, commissioners, for that time. So we are again on 5.7. Is there the recommend staff recommendation. Can you pull out?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. Here it is.
Yeah.
So the recommendation is that the P and Z approve the site plan for this hotel at 4160 Savannah. Conditions that they build it according to plans that you've submitted as seen and are in the packet. That's number one. That number two, there's some health and safety stuff that just isn't ripe and ready yet, but that be approved by fire and police before occupancy. Luke went through the same process with the ice arena. Three, any signs need a sign permit. And four, this is just a hedge. We know the rec center's coming, but if it doesn't come for whatever reason, within a year of this opening, that they would build a walkway down to Savannah Drive. That would
So Mark, that came up at our Becker meeting yesterday with the team. And so as part of this hotel, we're actually going to build that whole parking lot and sidewalk. Oh, so it really, I want to build it. And so they brought that up. I said, no, this is not a problem. I want to get that and bring it to Williamsburg right away.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep you
Thank
happy.
you. So that,
I think 1 through 4 is still relevant. We'll just, the plans we have don't show that.
And it's fine if you leave it in there because I'm just don't have to change anything. I'm just letting you know that we're going to build it right away.
yep, and I will take a quick second break because Shannon, you are not on screen right now. So if you do have anything you want to bring up, please just let us know.
I'm good,
Otherwise,
thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Recommendation is in front of us if anybody wants to make that motion. Mike?
I'd motion to recommend planning and zoning approve the site plan submitted at the hotel 4160 Savannah Drive within DeForest Yards, Savannah Brooks, subject to the following conditions, including 1 through 4.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a
Second.
second by Colleen. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. You and good luck again. Item number 5.8 is a public hearing to consider a request from Ryan Company US Inc. for conditional use permit to enable a customer product parcel transfer and delivery facility in the two general industrial zoning district on approximately 50 acres, including three parcels denoted on the agenda, located west of Hickory Lane, south of Lindy Street in the village of DeForest. I'm opening that public hearing at 7:18. Presentation, Mark, I believe.
I'll start us off, and I know we have Ryan Company's representatives here that can feel free to speak as well. This is a conditional use permit due to the parcel delivery service, and M2 district, you have to get a CUP before you can do this type of land use. I surmise that's mainly associated with the fact that they require a fair amount of land, and B, and probably more directly, generate a lot of traffic. And so the conditional use process is not the last step associated with this. We will have this come back to you again for site plan, certified survey map approval, and some other minor things associated with undoing and redoing the layout compared to the proposal you saw a year or so ago. My recommendation tonight is to postpone action. And while I think this project is well on its way, a lot of the pieces are coming together in relatively quick order. Last week, there was a final traffic impact a statement or analysis that was submitted, reviewed by the village's traffic engineer. His advice is included in your packet tonight. At the same time, basically, there was negotiation on how this project would help improve the road system in the area. Could you type in the number 80? No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. 182. Sorry. Going back over this project. Go for it. What a team. how many employees does it take? Anyway, the the concept that's been worked out is that the developer Ryan Companies would build the realigned Cake Parkway at the south end of the site from west to east. They would build what's currently called Street A, but it's a street on the north edge of the property from west to east as part of the project. And then they would make contributions that are relative to their impact for off-site road improvements. Those off-site improvements would be the urbanization, curb and gutter, middle left turn lane, other things, sidewalk, etc., for Hickory Lane from the south end of their property down here up to the intersection with County V. They would also be responsible for a portion of the improvement of the County Highway V Hickory Lane intersection to put signals there and turn lanes and things like that. They would furthermore be responsible for a smaller portion of the improvements to the interchange that are driven primarily at this point in time by the Buc-ee's development. And then finally, and I can get into the details, as we looked at the collection, I think the next one up will help. As this proposed Street A and the actual location of Lindy Street, about 200 to 250 feet apart from each other in plan. The traffic analysis suggests that there's going to be left turn lane conflicts if those streets are too close to one another. So there's a detail later in the packet that shows this suggestion of Lindy actually discontinuing before it reaches Hickory and connecting down instead into Street A, and that solves that problem. So they would, the developer would also contribute to the cost of that realignment and provide the right of way for that realignment. So we're getting, close on traffic, and we're working right now on a detailed development agreement associated with that traffic situation. In addition to that, a second issue that I've raised prior is that in addition to the traffic impact associated with the vehicles moving in and out, we have potential, emissions associated with moving. I counted somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 vehicles in and out each day. There may be opportunities. We hope for many of those to be electric vehicles, so you don't have tailpipe emissions. Solves a lot of that problem. But the details of that recommended air quality impact and mitigation strategy aren't yet put together. I suggest that before action on the CUP happen is that we get information on what their proposal is to mitigate, to control the impacts on air pollution associated with this operation. There are a few other issues raised in the memo. They relate to emergency services, making sure that, like other projects, police and fire can get in and out through and around this site in event of emergency. We'd like a little bit more detail on that. Some other minor points I can get into in the report. I'm kind of riffing off of memory right now. But together, in my opinion, it would be best, given that this is your last real discretionary approval, the conditional use permit, to hold back on that approval until those issues are worked through a little bit more finally and further. This doesn't necessarily need to delay the project. As of now, we have their site plan approval request on your next agenda. So it could, in theory, be conditional use permit approval, site plan approval to follow if the dominoes are all lined up. With that, I'll close my presentation and be available for questions or to show information. It's a lot of stuff, but it is coming together, and we're certainly hopeful that it will come together within the next couple of weeks to enable our recommendation to change to approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So that is the presentations. I believe there is no public appearances noted on this. So we will move to item 5.9, discussion and possible action on a request for
Jen, I'm sorry, you need to close the public hearing.
closed at 7:26, if I didn't say that.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.9 again, discussion possible action on a request from Ryan Companies US Inc. for a conditional use permit to enable a consumer product parcel transfer and delivery facility in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District on approximately 50 acres, including 3 parcels listed on the agenda. And again, this is discussion, and it looks like the applicants are here if there is any question.
I just add 2 additional points for context. So as it relates to Mark's comments regarding the public improvements and some of the cost sharing that goes along with that, we do have written confirmation of cost sharing amounts for that. As Mark mentioned, that'll get formalized into a development agreement, but we do have sort of a tentative agreement on what that looks like. Obviously, the development team's here in the room, and then I just also wanted to share, Mark, you had sent over, circulated to staff, potential draft resolution for a conditional use permit to review as a potential option, and I'm wondering if at some point we can maybe just touch on that just to show some of the details that might involve in that, but certainly that can come later, just opening the questions now.
I could definitely bring that up later. I will just say the item is listed discussion and possible action on a request. So in the event that the commission disagreed with my recommendation to postpone, I wanted to be ready, and you weren't just approving a conditional use permit without appropriate conditions. So we do have, I guess in our back pocket, a conditional use permit resolution should you disagree and believe that the conditional use permit approval would be appropriate tonight.
Thank you, Mark. Alex, is there anything?
I would just say, certainly that's one piece of it too, but maybe to solicit particular input to that, or if it does push out to another meeting, or if that is tonight, to get some feedback on some of those as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to bring that up. It articulates a lot of the things in a little bit finer language as to what I kind of hacked through when I presented earlier. But absolutely, Alex's main point is a good one, is that this is a great opportunity. You have concerns to get things, ironed out tonight. So we're all eager to hear, your opinions, both general and specific, about what you would like to see to get you in position to approve, not only this conditional use permit, potentially the detailed site and building plans next month.
Yep, I appreciate that. And we'll go to commissioners' comments. I do myself personally would wish to see that, because that might elicit more comments as we go through that. And sure, it'd be great for the applicants, even if we don't get to approval tonight, to know what we're concerned about but again, any commissioners wishing to start the discussion? Lisa?
I would really like to see that cost sharing amount for the community and the impact that would have financially for our community. I'd also be interested in better understanding the annual revenues from Ryan Companies and their ability to provide the greater or the lion's share of the financial support for the rerouting of roads and for the maintenance, right? Because this distribution center, I think I saw something like 400 vehicles or something like that per diem. So I would say, in terms of cost sharing, I would hope that they'd be willing to invest in the community, and we would not be tapping our resources.
Yeah. Alex, could you allude, or do you have numbers or percentages on those?
I can certainly share some of that. So if you're looking at the site plan that's on screen, the developer would be responsible for the full cost of construction and utilities for, so what is Plan East, I guess, which is the northernmost roadway, Public Road A. There you go, got the cursor there. And then the extension of Cake Parkway on the south. Yep. And then the cost, as Mark alluded to, of 50% of the Hickory Lane improvements, which is essentially the western half where their development is along, which the dollar amount of that comes out to 1.139 million. The Hickory Lane and County Highway V intersection improvements.
Alex, could I interrupt? So you said 50%, is that 50%, say, of half of the width, or?
It's essentially the full cost of the western half, I believe.
Okay. Sorry.
The intersection improvements at V and Hickory Lane highlighted there, it's roughly 190,000. And that, again, this is proportional to the impacts from the TIA that was reviewed, which I believe was roughly 21% traffic contribution to that. As well as the Highway V interchange improvements, a contribution to that to the tune of 520,000. And then Mark mentioned the realignment of Lindy Lane and connecting that road, roughly 750,000, as well as essentially donating the right of way for that. So I would say that the contribution from the developer is substantial.
And then my other questions were in terms of the distribution center itself, will there be housing of any type of goods on premises, hazardous waste, any type of concerns with hazardous materials that way?
I would say that's probably
Just
a better question for the development team.
Happy to
Thank
take
you.
the question. Jason Minglis, owner's rep, 211 South Henry Street, Madison, Wisconsin. There is no product that's stored on site longer than 24 hours. It comes prepackaged, largely from Chicago, Minneapolis, Kansas City, St. Louis, that region. And the only kind of hazardous materials you'd find is what you'd find in your local hardware store.
It's like electronics and things like that. Okay, Amazon distribution center type of concept.
It's a last mile delivery station. So it's vehicles that are bringing product to customers' homes, business homes, et cetera.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Anybody else, Mike?
In your last presentation, I just want to confirm the actual delivery vehicles are EV.
About 50% of them are EV, and the remainder are gas-powered vehicles.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Can I get your name and address from? Thank you. Mike?
Just a follow-up, Mark, on the, forget your number, was it 500 to 1,000 vehicles per day that you had mentioned?
Well, I'm going to get these numbers. The specific numbers are in their application, but there's about 450 vans that'll go out and in each day. There's 450 van drivers that will come to the site and leave each day. There are between 40 and 50 trailer trucks that will come probably overnight mostly. And then there are somewhere in the order of 200 on-site employees.
That's a lot.
So there's going to be a lot of, right, a lot of movement. And, the potential, emissions are greatest from trucks and vans.
Right.
So to the extent that, we could get, zero emission or low emission in those vehicles, the bigger the bang, probably.
I would encourage as much research into that for the time that you make your presentation as you possibly could do.
We're having daily conversations with our consultant that we brought on a couple weeks ago. We're not concerned about failing an emissions test with the fact that we have no idling policies. We have a decent amount of EV vans. We have an all-electric HVAC system, and we're also not doing any, gas burning equipment on sites. A lot of times you get into trouble when you're idling heavy diesel semis in tight spaces like downtown Chicago. When you're out here in the farm field, there's really not a huge concern. So we're not overly concerned about failing that test.
I have a follow-up, I guess, as well, now that you brought power up. I saw something in the packet about electrical power. Is there sufficient power currently for what you want to do there? Or is there significant upgrades from the substation necessary?
There's going to be significant upgrades. We got to bring a circuit from the substation 3 miles south of us. And we're paying for that 100% to the power company.
Thank you.
Other commissioners? Lisa?
Their question. So with the care, custody, and control of other people's property on that premises, is this going to have a perimeter for security, or what does that look like? Is that a concern at all at any of your other locations?
No, so they will have a fence, security fence that will go around the facility. It won't be gated at all. So emergency services can access the site freely in that way. The building itself is secured with employee badge access. And then there's a team of loss prevention specialists and security folks that are on site at all times. And if I may just maybe opine on our operations in terms of how that works with the roughly 50% gas powered vans as it relates to our no idling policy. So the two kind of stalls that flank the building, plan north and plan south, immediately adjacent to it, those are queuing lanes. So, and then the parking lot that's immediately plan east is the employee parking lot, and then the other two larger ones are fleet parking. So as the vans are ready to dispatch, that takes place usually between 9 and noon. It'll be set by the traffic study plan, but the vans will then queue up in those areas and then disengage their ignition. If it's a electric van, the ignition automatically turns off when they stop. And then they'll load their van and dispatch in waves of about 20 to 30 minutes. So during that period of time, the vehicles are off. Folks are, when they're parked, their vehicles parked as they're working inside of the site, and then they disperse. And so total dispatch time usually from start to finish takes about an hour to hour and a half. For a site like this. And so during that time, again, all vehicles are off as they're being loaded, and then they're only on once they're dispatching. And that's regulated by a yard captain on either side of those canopies.
Okay, and you mentioned air quality, and Mark also mentioned air quality. And so in thinking of this as well, do we have any neighbors who've spoken up as to concern, whether it's, as to your point, farmland, right? As to any concern to crop damage or anything of that nature with pollution liability, air control issues?
We have heard nothing to that effect. The neighbors were notified of this public hearing, and we haven't heard anything from any neighbors.
Like, how close is the nearest residence? I know it's quite a ways, but idea?
Well, there might be a random residence, close by, but on this entire map, if there's more than 5 residences, I'd be surprised.
Short of going east of the interstate.
Correct.
Yeah, I would just say from a planning perspective, this whole area is sort of envisioned as future commercial and industrial and is planned as such.
Lisa, you still have the floor?
No, I'll stop. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Caitlin.
I saw Mark's note, must be in the comprehensive plan, that in addition to encouraging businesses to have EV chargers, also encouraging rooftop solar on large buildings. Is that part of the plan at all? So if you have the electric vehicles, that you're powering them with clean energy?
Yeah, we generally don't do on-site solar, but we do engage in purchase power agreements where most of our power company-wide is renewable. In addition to that, this particular program will have low carbon concrete, low carbon rebar, diversion, a construction waste diversion program. And then it will also participate in a program where we track carbon use throughout the construction process so that we can continue to reduce the carbon use through our build program.
Thank you.
Anybody else? And Shannon, if you have anything, please speak up. And I guess hearing that, I do have two things I wanted to bring up. I'm wondering, I don't know, maybe this is too early because we're not reviewing the site plan, but I guess conceptualize, I guess I'll look at you, Mark, because I don't know if you've looked at, say, like the landscaping plan yet, if that seems appropriate. I mean, looking at it on paper, it looks like it's quite a bit, but I also know this is a larger scale than what we normally see. So I wonder if it does meet point requirements and things like that.
I don't know yet. So one of the drivers of the landscape points are big buildings and big parking lots, and we have both on this site. So, you know, one of the challenges I have, you know, communicated with the developer on is that you got to meet the landscape points. And so, I don't know whether this plan does that yet or not. It may not.
The additional comment that I'll make with that, and you can tell me what I'm remembering or don't remember from our ordinances, let's say like River Road and other, say, collectors or arterials, that we have some extra buffer that we'd like, or landscaping that we'd like along those corridors. I don't remember if Hickory Lane is named that already, but in my opinion, it's gonna act very similar. So I would hope that when we get to the landscaping plan that we sort of load up on that roadway.
Thank you for that support. It's not specifically listed as one of the gateway streets right now. I think that's what you're thinking of. There is, I'm guessing 50 to 60 feet between the Hickory Lane right of way and their first parking space. So theoretically, there's room. There's a lot of demands on that room. Landscaping comes like 7th or 8th in the pecking order. I try to get that a little higher, but there's stormwater management proposed in that strip. There's also potentially private utility needs within that strip. So there's some competing demands that we're trying to work through with them to make it work over there. So
yep, I guess I'm trying to
we talked about it.
I'm trying to get the landscaping up from the number 7 plates too. So.
Mark and I are going back and forth on it, and there is some extra room maybe in the truck yard to add some more landscaping. One thing we typically don't like to do is just to shove trees, just add more trees. So if we could, you know, make a donation of, you know, whatever a tree costs, so you guys can go plant it at a park or in a different right of way, we'd love to do that as well.
I told them we don't have that program. They got to fit the trees on the site. Understand? If the site needs to be adjusted to fit the trees on the site, then that's what has to happen.
And the last thing that I want to bring up is the Lindy Lane potential realignment or shown realignment.
I can get that.
And I'm thinking this is not necessarily set right now, and maybe you can tell me different. But I just know cul-de-sacs are a bit of a maintenance. I'm assuming you're working, I think that's a different property owner to the north, right?
This is the same property owner.
Oh, it's all the same property.
It's all the same owner.
Okay.
So none of this would require land from anyone else.
Okay, that is comforting because I thought we were negotiating with another property owner, but I guess my comment still sort of holds, is I don't know if the cul-de-sac is the best layout or if you would rather say swing Lindy Lane south and not have a cul-de-sac, but being that the owner is in the room, I would say that's gonna be up to you guys, so.
There were 2 or 3 options, and that's one of the options, Jim. Okay. So, I mean, we can certainly talk more about it.
And I'm hoping you got our Public Works input
Oh, absolutely. It's,
Yeah, I don't know if we can.
I do have that resolution, if you wanted me to spend any more time on it, but your call.
Oh. Yep, good point. I guess, does anybody, I will make a motion to take things out of order and go back to public appearances.
Second.
Seconded by Colleen. All those in favor of going back to public appearances, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes unanimously. So we are on it's 5.8.1 under public appearances.
Yep, so we'll need to have the developer step away then, to allow for the person in the audience
Yep, thank
come
you.
forward. And then we'll also need individual to fill out a public appearance
Come
form.
up. Yep. Yep, thank you. So like Brandy said, there's a form to fill out, and if you could just state your name and municipality.
Just hit the button on the microphone there.
Okay,
Thank you.
my name is Stuart Harris, and I currently have worked this land for many, many, many years. I farm to the west. My property butts up to this. We have a drainage district that's buried along that Lindy Lane. And according to the drainage district, they cannot impede my right to farm. I've got a main thing on my farm, and that comes along that Lindy Lane. Comes over to Hickory Lane and goes underneath. They did some diggings and borings, and somebody hit a main tile line. And when I was out there, they says, we didn't know nothing about any tile line out there. I had the drainage district, they fixed it so that my land to the west, which is all tiled and tiles into this line, gets drained. Otherwise, my ground's gonna be all saturated and a big lake if it can't drain. And then I was told on this particular property, they were gonna bring and build it up 4 or 5 feet with topsoil or dirt. What is that gonna do to that green field's a hay field right there on the map. I farm all that. I'm a dairy farmer. If they build that up 4 or 5 feet, what's that gonna do to my land? That's the only question I've got. And I may be stepping out of bounds right now, but
Yep.
and the land that they're currently gonna develop on the south end, it's really, really low. And water stands there, so it's not like a flat type thing.
Yeah, that would change quite a bit, but
Yeah, they have to build that up.
your comments are very timely. There's no one in the room here that can probably answer you today.
Yeah.
But the village engineer will pass this information on to them.
Okay, and I can come back to the next meetings or whatever too.
Yeah, and it might be nice if you have a piece of paper to write down your name and number.
Yeah, nope, I can.
Oh, you'll get a form, and then
Yeah,
you know, you have information that might be of value to both the project engineer and the village. engineer. So we'd love to hear it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep. And could I get your name again in the minute?
Stuart Harris.
And I'm assuming in your Vienna, is that?
Yep, town of Vienna. Yep, I grew up in DeForest since 1963, and then we've been farming out in town of Vienna ever since.
Yep, and thank you. You do bring up a good point about that drainage district.
Yeah, I talked to the drainage district today, the president of it, and he says they cannot impede my rights to farm. So they have to keep that. They would have to take and move that whole drain system. But on the other side of Lindy Lane is a hotel. So I don't know where they would put that. Really can't put it there in their parking lot. So, but maybe there's ways of doing it. I don't know. But just so that it doesn't all get backed up and doesn't drain off my lane west of this particular development.
Yep. Thank you. I know, like Mark said, we'll have the engineers look at that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. So I will go back, that will end our public appearances again, and we are back to 5.9 for discussion and possible action. Go ahead, Lisa.
Mr. Harris, I had a question on what kind of crop you're farming there. Is it human consumption? Silage. Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. So continued discussion. So I'm looking at the commissioners. Would it be beneficial to run through the potential ordinance or resolution, whatever you have prepared?
They don't know if they're asking for a half hour or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I can make it 3.
3 would be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put me on the clock.
You're good for waiting, Mike, Bill?
I was just gonna give a suggestion or my opinion for deferral.
You want, oh, sorry. Am I going or not?
Well, I'll second it for continued discussion, and then Mark, can you do your 3 minutes?
So this is the, imagine we're a month in the future, or tonight if you feel things should accelerate. The conditional use permit would be approved by resolution. The idea would be that the layout would be a general accordance with what you've been seeing up on screen, except that you could make adjustments by site plan approval. We'd like to see emergency vehicle connections between lots and to make sure that the fire department's biggest truck can get around the parking lots. The site plan ought to be adjusted to show that rerouting of Lindy Street on its north end, and to assure that the stormwater basins around the perimeter, which are substantial as well, both do what they're supposed to do, but also provide aesthetic and habitat values for the community. Here's your landscaping, Jim, that the space between the Eastern Van parking lot and Hickory Lane be extensively landscaped. If you're going to see an air quality assessment recommendation, if any of those relate to site design, those would be taken care of in the site plan changes. So these are proposed site plan adjustments in number 1. The second one is tied first to making sure that we're approving what they're proposing and not enabling 3 times as what's proposed without any further approval. So number 2, no more than 500 van deliveries each day. That's above the 454s in their application. Within the windows, with some generosity that the vans would be moving in and out of, help with keeping it out of the rush hour, providing a little flexibility. If there's a disabled vehicle, oops, I forgot a load of diapers, you can go back and not violate the condition. This is third one's a semi-truck limit. That's 1415 above what they said in the application. Again, just to try to keep a meaningful cap on their operation without having to come back again for a second approval. Really also related to this, seeking that emergency services and security plan. This is the big one in terms of space and text used, is this recommendation for an air quality assessment with ideas as to what that air quality assessment could include. Very similar to what you saw in my report if you read that. The third recommended condition would tie them to the road improvements that we've talked about fairly extensively today. The on-site improvements, the realignment of Lindy Street, cost sharing for the off-site improvements that you see listed here, and that all of these roads, we wouldn't be talking about cow paths. These would be, built to village standards. And then finally, the fourth condition is that all of this would be documented, especially the road requirements, in greater detail within an infrastructure development agreement that would go before the village board for approval. So those are the things we have in mind. Again, if all goes according to plan, these conditions will get much less when this comes before you next month.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Right now, we have on the floor a motion by Mike, seconded by myself for deferral. I guess if I could ask one additional question of the applicants. Have you seen what was this presented on screen?
He hasn't.
Wondering if you like brought it to corporate or need to or whatever.
We're generally aware of the requirements that Mark presented, but I have not seen this exact document now.
I'm happy to get it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
And I'm wondering, are you concerned about timing at all as far as wanting or desiring a motion tonight?
We would love a motion to approve the CUP. It's just another risk that we try and mitigate each step of the way. We thank you, Mark. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Bill, for scrambling the last week and a half to figure out the offsite improvement requirements. I think there are a decent amount of site plan conditions that we still need to go back and forth the next couple of weeks, but I think we would love a vote if you could.
Are you comfortable moving forward with your site plan, say engineering and layout without a conditional use approved tonight?
We would still maintain schedule for a site plan approval at the next meeting, yes.
They've already submitted it.
Thank you. That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's a motion on the floor for deferral. Is there any further discussion? Go ahead, Lisa.
Mark, you mentioned, air quality. I'd be interested in thoughts on, with all the rerouting of roads and expansion of roads and such, noise, traffic, light as well, if that is something that we should be considering. This is a vast property with lots of lighting, and that I'm curious if we should have a little bit more information that way, in addition to all of the other things that are presently lacking.
The village ordinances are fairly strict on dark sky lighting already. They'll have to meet those requirements. So while there'll, be certainly a fair amount of parking lot poles, they'll all be tilted down and they'll need to be kept in height below a certain level. I think it's 35 feet. So I feel we're covered by ordinance, Lisa, for lighting to make sure it's not a beacon on the western horizon.
Noise and traffic, how do you feel about that? Traffic would come later then after the roadway have been kind of finalized?
Well, that's what we are working through traffic and traffic impact
Okay,
right now. And you should expect that these road improvements will be built before they open.
Yeah, I would just add that those improvements are based on the anticipated traffic increase. So they'll be designed to accommodate that additional traffic flow.
Noise, I don't anticipate noise being a major factor with this development.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. So I do not see any continued discussion, so I'd ask all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will be seeing this and sounds like a site plan at the next meeting. Thank you. Item 5.10 is a public hearing on a proposed 7th Amendment to the preliminary development plan for the Conservancy Place Planned Unit Development PUD, with such PDP amendment proposing to increase the maximum number of authorized housing units in this PUD from 1330 to 1368, exempt up to 140 senior housing units from that maximum, subject to limits. Limit any attached residential units in the PUD's North River area to condominium units intended for owner occupancy, and incorporate minor amendments. I'm opening this public hearing at exactly 8 o'clock. Is this, Mark, do you want to do just presentation or is it somebody else?
It's me. So I'll start, and I know we have representatives from the developer here who can fill in the blanks after I'm done if they would like. Brief background, Conservancy Place, 500-acre plan unit development, the biggest development within the Village of DeForest. About 350 of those developable acres have been developed, leaving about 150 acres left. They're concentrated in two areas. One of them is around the intersection of River Road and Innovation Drive, Cuba Valley Road, that area. And the second is an area that's been alternatively referred to as either the Knolls or the North River District, which is near the north edge of Conservancy Place. That's about 95 acres, developable acres. The applicants, Parktown Development, are requesting an amendment to the preliminary development plan. That sets the zoning rules for what you can do where and how much. Over the years, as you probably saw in the packet, the preliminary development plan has been amended several times, oftentimes to either increase or decrease the maximum number of housing units within Conservancy Place. At present, over those entire 500 acres, up to 1,330 housing units may be built. And of those units, up to 911 can be attached units. In other words, not a single family detached home. I have some stats in the development that suggests that with the development, particularly of the Knolls area, they're getting close to those maximums. Furthermore, if the development that you saw in concept last month for seniors were to move forward, that would count against the unit counts based on how the preliminary development plan is currently written. So the developer is asking for two things, broadly speaking. First, to exempt senior restricted housing from those housing count maximums. And we've negotiated with them certain conditions and limitations. We've got to have direct access to River Road or Innovation Drive, so it can't be tucked back, at the east end of the Knolls, for instance. Got to be restricted for senior housing, so there's not a switcheroo 2 years later and it becomes open housing. A couple of other limitations to make sure it's sort of what you see is what you get. That's the first thing they're asking. So that exemption from the 1330 for senior housing. The second thing that they're requesting is the developers of Conservancy Place, Parktown. Good news, they've sold nearly all the lots within Rivers Turn. So they're just down to literally a couple lots left to sell within Rivers Turn. And within the next year or two, they plan to move forward with the development of the Knolls, or the North River District, as it's called in the preliminary development plan. That has always been envisioned to be predominantly a single family development area. But there's no, at this point in time in the preliminary development plan, no specific requirement for that, except that they have to stay below these unit caps in total. What the developers are asking for that relate to the Knolls or North River District is to increase the maximum number of housing units within Conservancy Place from 1330 to 1368. The reason they want to do that is that they want to enable, probably near the west end, near River Road, another condominium development that have been very common and successful within Conservancy Place. So they're seeking to kind of go a little different than their earlier concept, which was 100% single family detached in the Knolls. And so that's the second point of emphasis. Well, as part of their application, what we've negotiated as part of that is to suggest that the development in the Knolls would in fact be limited to only single-family detached houses or not more than 44 and/or not more than 44 condominium units that would also be intended for owner occupancy. So they get more units. They trade that off by not allowing rental housing or anything above 2 or 3 or 4 unit kind of condominium up in that area. That's the essence of the proposal that's laid out in the preliminary development plan that gets you to 300s in the packet here today. And I've highlighted in that those, what the proposed changes are related to, is it related to the senior housing thing, or is it related to the interest in being able to do some condos up in the Knolls area? And then there's a handful of very miscellaneous stuff that's a third column. I'm comfortable that we've negotiated fairly well here, and there's reasonable trade-offs associated with this to get keep the development of a Conservancy Place going in a positive direction going forward. I'm recommending that the commission recommend board approval of the preliminary development plan as it's presented tonight. But happy to answer questions as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We are currently in the public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak? I will close the public hearing at 8:07 and move into item 5.11, which is discussion on the possible recommendation on the proposed 7th Amendment as stated on the agenda. I think I'm gonna cut that short. Mark, can I ask for some clarification before discussion?
Sure.
You talked about having like the additional condominium units and talked about the single family homes. I'm just curious about, do you know about like home ownership in the condominium development? Have you heard that from Brian Sipple? I'm assuming it's probably decently high.
In his prior developments, how many of them are owner occupied?
Yeah.
I think of the more recent ones, 100% is a good estimate. Some of the earlier ones, the condominiums that were built around the park, Conservancy Commons, were built for initially for renter occupancy. I think those are more of a mix, but the ones that we've seen develop on the south end of Conservancy Place are almost entirely owner occupied.
Okay, thank you. Anybody wishing to start the discussion? Yeah.
Can you just clarify for me, what happens to the 140 senior housing? Is that relocated somewhere else on that parcel? Or is that just not included?
Which parcel, Gene?
Well, we were gonna exempt up to 140 senior housing units. So does that mean that we're not going to have senior housing units?
No, that just means as we count how many units are in Conservancy Place relative to their cap, you don't count those. We just exclude them from the count.
Okay, so it's in totality, okay.
Yeah, and there would be up to 140 of those. So in other words, they couldn't just fill the River Road corridor with 1,000 senior units. It would be up to 140.
Okay.
Which, if you recall, at the last meeting, we had a concept presentation from the senior developer, and they were just under 140. So it essentially enables that development.
But again, if they decide we're not going to develop here, just to be clear, someone else could come forward with a conditional use permit request for 140 units, or 2 people. One could have 60 and one could have 80, and that would all fit. They would just have to have direct access to River Road. And a key condition that I didn't mention is that they'd have to be within zoning districts that are not eligible for the Knolls area. So you would not see the senior housing in any part of that northern area. It would be, somewhere near the intersection of River Road and Innovation Drive.
So then just to clarify, that they would have to have direct access to River Road.
Correct.
So that there would, okay,
Or Innovation Drive, or both.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Lisa?
The Knowles area is part of the Conservancy Place development, and Parktown. Where are we at with housing density right now with our single family versus, multi-tenant, in terms of our mix?
I don't have the precise number tonight, Lisa, but the percentage is dropping, and opening up more areas for single family housing is a priority of ours.
Thought we were at like 70 something or 68. It was above the threshold, the 60-40 threshold last time we chatted about this.
It's in the 50s. The percentage of single family total, if we count every housing unit in the village.
No, in Conservancy.
Well, in Conservancy Place. Well, I can tell you that.
While he's looking that up, I'll just kind of do a little clarification on the other numbers. So for the whole village as a total between single family homes at 47% and two family homes at 16%, the village is at 63% as a whole for single family or owner occupied in the village.
Thank you. Do we happen to have that for Conservancy?
Yeah, so here, it's in your, it was in your packet. So,
Page is that?
yeah, 237. And within Conservancy Place right now, there's 1,168 units that have been approved. 364 of those are single family homes. So, someone with a calculator can do the math. It's about 25% or so. That includes the 226 units in the 4 development group apartments that the commission approved last August that haven't been built yet.
And would that include that senior housing, the 140?
No. This is in a document called Conservancy Place Housing Units already approved and authorized by PDP. That's what we're here for, to decide whether those are gonna be authorized or not. So this is the current situation.
Sorry to interrupt for clarity. Some of those that are listed in the attached residential are what are, at least I perceive as duplexes.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of them are. Hawthorne Conservancy on the River, Village Walk has a fair number. Yahara Innovation Drive, all condos. Yeah, a lot of these are not apartments.
It appears though with the duplexes and quadplexes that really pushing that density and not making that lopsided to our goals.
Yeah, I will just say that Conservancy Place has always, in terms of housing units, has always been, you use the word lopsided towards attached residential versus single family detached from its inception. And you can see that in the table before that, which back in 1999, Conservancy Place was originally approved to include up to 1,116 housing units. And of those, up to 883 could have been something other than a single family detached home. And that percentage has stayed fairly constant. So by land area, it might be more single family than other things, but by housing units, it was always envisioned to be more attached housing than single family.
Anything else, Lisa?
I own property in that location, and that's not what was presented to me when I purchased in that area by Parktown. So I'm just That's an interesting comment you just made to me, Mark. But no, no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Anybody else? Guess if I could bring up a comment, Mark, you had the graphic where you showed a lot of the different changes that have happened throughout the years. And I can remember some of those changes, and a number of them, I believe, are showing up here because we were, say, changing what was considered multifamily lots into single-family homes. I think if anything, it's become by area at least more single-family.
Everything from the bridge, the Yahara River Innovation Drive Bridge to the west was originally planned for multiple family or attached residential. A lot of that was converted to single family homes over the years.
So we are on, again, 511, and there's recommendation. Do you have the recommendation, or could you pull it up on screen?
Oh, sure. It's very simply stated a recommendation to approve the April 2026 Seventh Amendment to the preliminary development plan for Conservancy Place as presented.
Okay, that is staff's recommendation. I do want to commend staff for the way it was presented in the packet. I did like how you did the different highlights to distinguish a couple of different, say, changes.
I think that was Lisa's suggestion that we do it that way. So thank you.
So is there a motion?
Sorry, I keep going away.
People stop scrolling. I will.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to get to the end.
Oh my. Let's see, I'll make a motion. Recommending that, the village board approve the attached April 2026 Seventh Amendment to the preliminary development plan for Conservancy Place as presented.
Thank you, Colleen. There's a motion on the floor.
Second.
Seconded by Mike. Any further discussion?
Can I just say something?
Go ahead,
I
Jean.
do appreciate the history that you put behind that. I mean, that was very helpful because it went back to 1999. So thank you. That's a good reminder.
It's important to keep track of Conservancy Place.
If you want a copy of those, each of those PDPs, I can give them to you. Oh,
Take a vote, should we?
yes. There is no further discussion that I see, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Wait.
Oh, sorry. All those opposed? Did I say that?
I voted no.
So motion passes 6-1. Thank you, Lisa. Presentation and discussion, there is none. 7, Chair's report. Chair's report, I only have the one meeting. I neglected to bring the previous meeting in April, but I believe that was pretty minor as far as the number of items. But at our last village board meeting, we did some onboarding of the new trustees in the work session. We approved the construction of the fire station number 2, which is located down in Windsor off of Windsor Street. Big news is we have a new president, and she happens to be in the room with us tonight. So congratulations, Colleen. Which that opens up the next thing that we talked about is we are now looking for a village trustee. So I would say that everybody in the room, besides Colleen and I, are some pretty good examples of future trustees if you want to throw your hat in the ring.
But let's remember that we
Oh,
can
that's
only have
we call out.
2 trustees on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so.
Yeah,
There's that.
that's up to the president to figure that stuff out too. Good point. We vacated a couple roads that we talked about here, Monticello and Cape Parkway, for some developments that we talked about often. We did an award for park improvements at a handful of parks. The Home Reach, the affordable housing program, there was a bit of a discussion about that. I can't remember if that passed, but we modified it to close a loophole. And last thing I'll mention is that there was a appointing of some individuals on committees, including Doug, Jean, and Mike. So thank you for continuing your service here on P and Z. And again, thank you. I don't think anything changed with ETZ because you're already still on that. So nice to have a consistent board. So again, thank you. That's all I had. So back to the agenda, staff's report. That Brandy or Alex, there's a number of subtopics.
All right, I'm going to shoot through these pretty quickly. So because everything was included in your packet, you can take time to kind of digest the deep dives of all the reports. But I just kind of want to do a quick little overview. So I'll start with the building permit report. We had a total of 755 units added to the village in 2025. That would be 35 single family homes, which was down significantly from the years prior to that. In 2024, we had 76 single family, and in 2023, we had 81. And last year we had 35. So there was a significant drop there. We had 44 units for duplex or attached residential. That's pretty much in line with history. That would mostly be the Brian Sipple projects that we've gone through. But the big bump up was we had 676 multi-family units added in last year. And in 2024, we had 315. And prior to that, it was very, very minimal. So this is the first year that we've experienced the majority of the weight shifting to the multifamily side of things. Total estimated value that was added to the village through these permits, plus it also does include commercial and industrial additions, buildings, things like that, was 108.9 million of estimated value added to the village. Now, what that is, the estimated value is what was the cost to construct. It's not what the property will have its tax assessment done at. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at those type of numbers. I will move on from the building permit report. I'm happy to answer any questions on that, either after I go through all of these or willing to discuss offline if you guys have any questions. As with every year since I believe 2020, when our population actually hit the 10,000 mark, we have to do yearly reports. We have to do a fee schedule report by state statute, and then we have to do housing affordability reports by state statute. They are all on our website. These were presented to the village board previously. Just a couple of things through this report, the housing report, that I wanted to just highlight. So that way you guys kind of have an idea of how permitting, building costs, cost of land, Dane County in comparison, all of that kind of go through with, compare with everything. So in 2012, backdate a little bit, if you guys can remember back that far, the home sale prices in the DeForest Windsor area were some of the lowest within the suburban Dane County market. It was 7% below the county median back in 2012. 2025, DeForest Windsor median home sale price increased 76%. And since 2015, and is now slightly greater than the median home sale prices within Dane County of $450,000 is that median. The sales prices increased over the past year by about 5% from roughly 442,000 in 2024 to 465,000 in 2025. And it's about half of the increase that we saw from 2023 to 2024 in the median sale price. And during that period of time, that was an 11% increase in the DeForest Windsor area over last year. So more people are coming to the area, right? The availability and things like that are there. What's slowing down with the new constructions and things like that is the cost of the land, what it costs to build a house, things like that. So the inventory is not balancing or going to be balancing itself as well, based on those numbers. In 2021, there was a DeForest housing supply and demand analysis done that basically showed that there was a shortage of about 206 total affordable rental units within the village of DeForest. And 64 of those units are shortage for units needed for seniors. So that's showing then another trend that, you know, people aren't aging in place. They're needing to move up. Senior housing isn't as available, things like that. So it's just showing some demands in different aspects of the housing within DeForest. Please hold. There's lots of pages. One of the other things I just kind of wanted to highlight is some of the uptick for the multifamily housing. In 2025, it was our biggest uptick in the village of DeForest and multifamily housing. We had several large multifamily developments come through the system, which we hadn't seen in the past. And over the past 8 years, from 2017 to 2025, we are, as a village, well over our benchmark of 100 new housing units, which was part of our strategic planning and comprehensive benchmarking planning as well, with an average of 61 single-family homes, 33 two-family units, and 172 multifamily units per year since 2017. So you see the larger numbers now, right, with the units that were just built for the multifamily, but averaging them over the entire time, you know, we're looking at 172 units a year since 2017. I already did the higher prices, interest rates, things like that. We do have some benchmarks out there that are through our strategic planning, through our comp planning to increase the workforce housing, senior housing, like I mentioned before, looking at maybe some zoning changes for residential lot sizes, home sizes, things like that to allow for more affordable housing to be built in our area, so on and so forth. There's a laundry list of different benchmarks and different priorities in that report, so I won't bore you with my toilet reading. Just real quick, going over the areas that have been added to the village. We had the Hidden Valley condo plat. Did I say something funky?
You said toilet reading. I think we maybe should say like late night reading, right?
Late night reading. That was my outside voice. Yeah, sorry about that. Not very appropriate. For late night reading, feel free. if you need to fall asleep. Hidden Valley condos, we had 34 units. The Bowling addition, to Yahara Gateway, which out by Fleet Farm, we also added the 12 single family units out there. Riverstone Townhome Phase 2, 15 owner occupied condo units. Springs multifamily development out by Fleet Farm, 320 rental units. Terrapin multifamily, which is the one on River Road, 298 rental units. And then there was an approval for FDG on River Road across from the athletic complex for 226 units. I think they'll just leave it at that. You can look at your late night reading material some other time. There is also a fee report that goes along with this yearly reporting, and basically what that is it's a tracking of different types of fees that we bring in through the village that brings the revenue side of things, but then also it tracks our park fees that are collected, all the impact fees that are collected from developers to be able to do and improve things throughout the village. I'm done.
I'm going to mention one thing about the joint housing report. This is an annual report for DeForest and Windsor together.
Yeah.
It's intended mainly to measure the inventory of approved but unbuilt housing units. Oh, thank you. The one, it relates to single family. And Brandy mentioned earlier, only 35 single family homes permitted in DeForest in 2025. Why so low? First off, I will say that Windsor permitted about 110. So there has been single family housing built in the DeForest Windsor area or the school district area. It's just mostly been in Windsor recently, and mostly been in Bear Tree Farms within Windsor, big development, moving very quickly. We haven't had in DeForest the inventory of lots to sell to people to build single family homes. The good news is towards in 2025, the Homestead addition to Savannah Brooks came online, added 60 additional lots down there, 60-ish, to sell. The other good news that I can share is that we have a developer, and I'll just share who it is. It's Lennar, who will be developing 140 to 150 single family homes within Heritage Gardens. It's been a long dormant single family development that will get some new life. You will be seeing their requests for development approval in the coming months. And I mentioned the Knolls a little bit earlier. We're hopeful to try to get that off the ground. We're also hopeful to get the single family portions of the Bueller Farm development off the ground here at 2026. So working hard to get more single family lot inventory on the market to get that 35 number higher and to tip the scale a little bit more towards single family going forward.
Mark, and can you remind me, I think Lamar, are they the developer down like in Windsor? I think they were just south of Windsor Road, so they got some history here.
Yeah.
They did Windsor Garden, the single family in Windsor Gardens.
I will just piggybacking off of everything you said. I think these go in cycles, and I think we may be hitting some sort of a single family development cycle. I've got of late to other developers who have been interested in the community for single family development too. So hopefully some movement on that side.
Thank you. Site plan approvals? CSO?
No. No.
Development process and enforcement suggestions.
I just have some updates as just for upcoming projects and meetings. Mark took my thunder about Heritage Gardens. So yeah, thanks, Mark. No, so Mark told you about that coming back around. We will be having a site plan for Layuna Way, the laborers union, coming before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Pomps Tires, I don't know if you remembered that one. We did receive a site plan application for that. And that's planned for May, right, Mark? May meeting. And then we also have the Enclave, CSM and site plan, that'll be coming before you. So bring snacks, and something to drink to the next meeting.
And Ryan, the parcel deliveries.
And Ryan,
It's gonna be another long.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I think I captured everything for as far as upcoming stuff. And all of this information will be updated on Engage to Forest after this meeting, the results of the meeting tonight, and then all of the stuff that's sorry, we're having some hacker issues here with Zoom, so we're gonna shut that down really quick. Shannon, we're gonna shut down Zoom. Sorry, thank you.